Wrap that up. Now, when Gary, of course, thank you, Gary, for organizing this talk. And when Gary came to me and approached me about doing a little talk, I pretty much had a fairly singular reaction to his invitation.
That's the reaction.
Not
800 by 600.
I love VTA.
There we go. I had a singular reaction, which was, hey. Well, that's supposed to say, hooray, I'm popular. Is there any way to get this to do the right thing? Yeah, I think I'm using automatic resolution is not picking up because my netbook's putting out 800 by 600. Right. It automatically well, anyway, while Matt tries to help me with that, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do with my talks. I'm going to give a short introduction. I'll tell you who I am and what I do. And then I'm going to talk about what my presentation is and isn't about. Basically, it's going pro or semi-pro. Talk about some ways to get started, who and why and what. And I will talk about some things that I wish I had figured out earlier than I did. And we can end with some questions after that. So, first of all, I'd like to mention that I might be bending the definition of strange things with electricity, really. I pretty much use electricity for its intended purpose. So some of the things I do might be a little bit unusual, but maybe the strange thing that I do is the fact that I make a living from it. My name's Donald Papp. I'm local. My company is called aeinnovations.com. Or AE Innovations, and what I do is I provide things that aren't available off a shelf to my customers. I have customers all over the world. I've been doing that for about 5 years now. I often think of the things I provide as puzzle pieces. I sometimes provide an entire thing to people. Aha! I sometimes provide an entire assembly to people, but often customers come with me about, they know what they want, and they have most of it, but they're missing this one little piece that they don't know how to do. So I provide that to them. I'll get into some specific examples here. Actually, some specific examples are some of my recent work. There's an artistic installation, an interactive artistic installation in Sweden that has a globe. And on the inside of the globe, there are illuminated tracks of light. And when you take a barcode scanner and you scan a piece of clothing, it will light up on the globe the path that all the raw materials from that cloth, from that garment, took, and what path they took through the world to get to you. Interesting. And what the guys do is they put it together and they use the DMX lighting system to set it all up. DMX is used in a lot of show type stuff, industry installations. It's an industry standard for lighting. I know that because I had to learn it in order to work on this. Anyway, they had the barcode scanners, and the barcode scanners could plug directly into the lighting system, and that worked great, except that they wanted 2 barcode scanners, one to do a red path, one to do a blue path. And they wanted it to be dynamic. So if one person scans a red piece, like it uses a red scanner, and a few seconds later, because the animation takes about 4 seconds, a few seconds later somebody uses the other scanner, they wanted the animations to reflect that and fade the first one out faster and mix it with the second one and all that stuff. That was the piece they were missing. So the 2 scanners go into something which talks to the lighting system. So they came to me, and I was able to design, because of you knowing the protocols and everything involved, I just assigned them a piece that just worked. They plug it in, everything works. That's one example of the sort of things I do. Another example actually is you get the idea. Interactive art installations, anything like that, some industrial stuff. So, first of all, the next stuff I'm going to talk about is going to be your mileage may vary. A lot of it is all in my experience. So, if you look at it from that perspective, it's in my experience, and also I mainly focus on electronic stuff. So, keep that in mind for all the new. What the rest of the presentation is going to cover is, it's going to talk a bit about going pro or semi-pro and some of the ways to get involved in that and how to do it, besides the strict application of skill. What it isn't going to cover is things like setting up your own business, how to do the accounting. Well, that stuff's boring. I could talk about it. I could even cram it into something really tight if people are interested, but I won't be covering that right now. So, some information on getting started. First of all, it can be done. There are people out there who need stuff like that. There are people who need custom things not available on a shelf. They know what they want, they don't know how to build it. It does exist. First thing you need to do if you're interested in exploring doing it for a living, or at least semi-pro, you need to decide what it is exactly that you're doing and then let people know about it. You might be building things and selling them to a hobbyist market. You may be offering your services, maybe whatever. Decide what it is you're doing. Regarding deciding what you actually do and what you want to offer, a hint is you probably already have a workshop set up for it, because it probably occupies 99% of your spare time already. Advertising, which is the letting people know you do it. Some ideas, well, as the list here is your website. If you don't have a website, you should get one. Anytime you do something, anytime you make something, anytime you find something that didn't work the way you thought, put it up on your website, talk about it. Other people will be interested in it, and it serves to let people know what you do. Online job boards, I'll give a couple specific examples later. Special interest or hobby forums. For example, radio-controlled community. The radio-controlled community has an incredibly huge homebrew, power users kind of segment to it. The people who need the latest and greatest. There's lots of people who build stuff in their basements, small businesses, small shops. They make it, they sell it off their website. That's one example. Society business directories, like any nonprofit society you might be part of. Find out if they have a business directory. A business directory for a society is a list of members. They talk to their membership and they say, okay, each one of the members, who are you and what's your business? We'll put it in a list. So anytime you need something, check out the society business directory. That's how I've gotten at least one of my big contracts in the past. And personal contacts, of course. Doesn't have to be people who are actually doing the same thing you do, but it serves to let people know what you do, and it'll lead to things like people saying, oh, you know who'd be good at that is so-and-so. After all that, you start working. People either come to you looking for what you build and sell, or come to you with wanting to do something. In my experience, often it happens because they're searching for what they want. They come across something you did which is similar, and they're interested in whether you can help them out. Another way to do it is the more traditional way of you going to them, for example, with a proposal. As an example, in BC, there's a hydroponics manufacturer. They make high-end hydroponics systems. This is an example of a proposal that I did. They make high-end hydroponic systems. A guy used to know worked there. They used these industrial controllers to do the CO2, the water, all that stuff, control it all. it worked great, except that these things, they're off-the-shelf units. They cost over $100 a piece, and they're only using maybe 1/10 of its potential, but they don't need anything more. So I wrote up something and said, you know, I could build you something that does exactly the same thing and costs half the price. You know, I could even build them for you and provide them. You know, they need about $100 a month or so. And see if they go, you know, and see if they go for it or not. It's an easier sell when, you know, they have no effort involved on their part. As it turns out, they didn't go for it, but it's an example of how that last one goes. Last thing I'm going to mention is some things I wish I had figured out earlier. So, yeah. Your best customers will be people with whom you speak the same language. If you've been in the publishing industry and you know how publishers work, you know how they think, you know how they talk, it'll help you a lot. If you are in the if you're in the radio control scene, you'll know how they think, what they want, how they talk. This is really, really, really important. It sounds weird, but it's really important because communication is so important. If you're trying to talk to a customer and they're trying to explain what they want, and they're trying to explain what they want, but they don't really know how to explain it, and they're using terms that you don't really get because it's all industry stuff, it can be long and frustrating. Great customer potential comes from people that, you know, you already know how they work, what their business is, that sort of stuff. Your customers can come from unexpected places, I assume. When I first started, my customers that I wanted to go after and I figured would be my main customers were business customers and also publishers. You know, for technical writing. I did do some technical writing in the past life. And business owners, like for example, the hydroponics guys that I figured I would do a proposal, help upgrade their stuff. That didn't work out nearly as well as I thought it should. And as time went on, and you know who wound up being some of my more unexpected customers were magicians, stage magicians. They often need a certain method or gimmick and are not sure, you know, they need someone to make it work. Here's what it needs to do. I just need someone to make it work. It has to fit in my sleeve. It's got to be battery powered. It's got to be, you know, nobody can see what's going on. It's that sort of thing. It's got to have a long battery life and a loud speaker that you can hear through my shirt. I once got an email from a magician in the UK asking me about a specific, it was actually a Ouija board. And they wanted to make a Ouija board that was electronic on the inside so that it would know where it was being moved and what was being spelled on it, and it would communicate that wirelessly to the magician, so he'd just know. About a month later, he must have talked to all of his friends, all of his UK magician friends, because I started getting all sorts of inquiries from magicians after that. And I never would have guessed that, you know, magicians would. It makes sense though. Another type of customer is artists. Artists sometimes work in mediums that they know what they want, but this specific piece, it's easier if someone just makes it for them. Like for example, you know, somebody will come to you and say, I have a sculpture. It needs to move this from here to here once a day at 12 o'clock right on the dot. The only problem is there's no power, there's nowhere to plug it in, and you know, I don't want to have to be resetting the time all the time. You know, can you do something like that? So anyway, your customers will come from unexpected places. Make sure that here's a quote from Amanda Wozniak, who phrased it